Hey everyone, welcome back to Taking Back Monday. I am so excited that you decided to say goodbye to the Sunday Scaries and hello to a new future of work. And I'm even more excited to introduce you to my new friend, Pamela. Pamela, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and Take Back Monday. Oh my God, how many of us have been sick to our stomachs on Sunday, right?
That is the exact reason that this show got started. I looked around and I saw friends and family who were ruining their entire
Right.
Sunday
Mhm.
just because tomorrow was Monday. And it's like you're gonna ruin one day simply because the next day is Monday. Like, what? Let's not do that. That sucks.
Right. Life is really short when you really start to think about it. But when it's just Sunday, is it? I actually think it's your whole week, and it just goes week after week after week after week. It's like this doom and gloom, but Sunday brings it really to your face because you know you've got one more sleep and you're back into the mess. Right. So it
Yeah.
is a hell of a way to live.
And I actually read an article I think it was a couple years ago now, that like statistically, you are most likely to die on a Monday.
It's just too much. I don't think that today, right, in 2025, that that's the way that work should be or could be or would be or, all of those words. We're not talking about the Industrial Revolution anymore. We're not, our parents, my parents were boomers, and that was the school system developed, and it's still that way today. And it's still trying to push us into the next phase, which is the knowledge phase, right? Which is go to school, get more schooling, to get more certifications to do what? When now I can get ChatGPT to do the exact same thing for me, right? I
Yep.
don't need all of that. I'm loading macros and I don't have no science background. I got kicked out of science. So it's like, but all of a sudden I have a second brain. I've got this thing that can do all of this for me. So now it's going to be about what am I here to do? Who am I here to help? What is it that's my mark on the world? And it certainly doesn't need to be working for, I don't know, photocopying company like I used to, right? And selling photocopiers. Like there's just so much more to life. And let people sell photocopiers if that's them. But I'm thinking if you're listening to this show, you're probably a little tired of that Sunday too. And know that the world has changed and that there's money and opportunity for people who really want it. It's sitting there for the taking. It's
Yeah.
brilliant.
And it is an exciting time. It's also like a daunting time, right?
Yeah.
So I have a 5 and a 9-year-old, and
Oh, goodness.
my 9-year-old, we were talking this weekend about the last trimester of school, right? So we just finished spring break. We're headed into the last little sprint, and historically that's rough for him because he's just bored and over it at this point. Like, he's ready for
Mhm.
summer. He's bored of what he's learning, and he said something to me, he said the right thing because he said something like, "I gotta finish school strong so that I can get good grades, so that I can go to college and I can get a good job." And, like, that's the right answer, I guess, but then I'm sitting there thinking, like, am I teaching just a continuation of this same approach? Like, I need to get a good job, not a job I love, not a job I care about, not a job that makes a difference, a job that pays me money so that I can buy things.
So I can trade my time for money.
Yeah. And I had this moment of, as a parent looking in, like, almost like a crystal ball looking into the future, is that what I want my kids to take away from what is school? Well, it's nothing more than a means to money. And rather than saying what is school, it's an opportunity for me to learn new things, to make friends, to build connections, to learn how to learn, to understand how to think outside of the box. And that's not the lesson he's getting right now. So I was working with him like, okay, this summer we're gonna do different things because I
Mhm.
don't want you to just think of school as a checkbox I have to have. It's an opportunity, right?
10
A
years
mindset shift with my 9-year-old.
10 years from now, can you imagine where we'll be?
Oh my god.
Can
The
you?
the amount of change we've had over the last 2 years, I
Yes.
can't imagine. We'll be in a whole new world in 10 years.
Right. So the education system is not maybe going to work for him. So great that you're woke enough to help him move through some other things that might help him. That's
Yeah.
amazing. 'Cause the opportunities are really all about personal brand. They're about the person that you are and being that person versus what the school system or what the world tells us to be.
Yeah, and I did that, right? Sometimes the best outcomes are unintentional. So he wants to be a YouTuber when he grows up. Now I'm sure that's gonna change. But, like, right now he likes to record YouTube videos, and he knows that I know how to do that. And, he was like, "Mom, can you help me? I
Mm.
just made a video. Can you help me get it?" And I said, "Nope, we're gonna learn to do it together." So I made him sit down. So, we learned how to use I taught him how to use ChatGPT to generate some
Wow.
description and come up with some titles, and I taught him how to edit a video and how to upload it into YouTube and how to make sure you've got all your settings set right, and so he's actually got a YouTube channel that he's building, and he's so excited. He just got 50 subscribers,
Oh
right?
my gosh.
And he's so proud of
Yeah.
himself,
That's an
but
idol. It's
he's
delicious.
He's built the channel 100% by himself. I really haven't done anything except for teach him how to do those things, and every once in a while, a video will pop up, be like, "Oh, that's a new video, I didn't even know that was there." Now, is he good at it? Not necessarily, but he's trying and he's learning, and
Why?
he's trying to grow a skill that I think every modern day business leader is gonna have to have, which is how do you put yourself out there? How do you tell your personal story? How do you build a brand of some kind, no matter what that brand is? And how do you have the wherewithal to do it yourself without having to rely on other people to hold your hand through it?
We've got 40 and 50-year-olds that won't do what your 9-year-old's doing,
I
right?
know he's pretty impressive. He's pretty cool.
Pretty impressive. So is his mom.
Yeah, aw, thanks. So let's go back to your beginning though, because
Well,
we've had a chance to kind of chat here a little bit, but I really want to hear like what is your origin story? How did you get into this? Why did you decide that it's time to take back Monday?
such an interesting question. And um, I get little marquee signs that go across my forehead, and it said Korea. So I know that's probably the best place to start, but I was born before the internet. I might not look it, right? But I was definitely born before the internet. And the computer age came in when I was about grade 7, 10, something like that. And they were big clunky things. And at the time, I thought they were ridiculous, right? And it's hard to find change, but I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. Well, I ended up pregnant and then long story short, hit 40, so kids are grown 18, 20, 22. And I'm like, hey, what do we do now with the rest of our life? And so somebody asked me, and I won't go through the whole story, but I end up in Korea with a high school education, teaching ESL and opening private ESL schools. Best thing that ever happened to me. I became so confident. I understood the world better because I was like farms town, Saskatchewan, Canada, like in the middle of nowhere. I didn't have any culture, understand how the world really worked. And when I came back, it was a different world. You would be amazed at how strong your intuition becomes when you cannot understand language. We bamboozle each other here with the words, but something in us is telling us something's off, but we're listening to the words. When you don't have that, you come back and it's like, whoa, the world was wide open because I could hear something I could never hear. So I started the only place I knew how, and that was teaching ESL, $25 an hour. So it was a while ago in the library, public library, downtown Vancouver, Canada, Korean students all over the place. And it was just one after the other, after the other, after the other. And then it got, well, now what do I do with it next? So I started going to networking meetings and started listening to people, listening to their story. And then I started a little silly podcast called the $20 Lunch Project because I felt honestly, Alyssa, I had no skills. I didn't think I had any skills. I just knew I could talk to people because that's what made me so successful in Korea. I could talk to kids, I could talk to moms, I could talk to the doctors, I could talk to anybody. I'm barely educated, right? So, okay, let's do that. And then slowly after interviewing a lot of people and asking people stories, they all were like, wow, you should be a coach. I'm like, a
Mhm.
coach? What do I want to be a coach for? So I decided I'm going to be a coach. Well, then what happens is, as most people, I got in as a coach and I couldn't get a client. Couldn't get a client, couldn't get a client. I thought it was the website. I thought it was the brand. I built website. I should pull out all my business cards. I brought them from Canada. There's so many beautiful stories and all the brands I built, right? And then I thought, well, that's not going to work. So let me just go into social media marketing. And that didn't work. So let me go into funnel building. Oh, and then it finally, one day, it started to work. But it took me a long time because I carried with me, I don't have any skills. And it was the most detrimental thing I've ever said to myself, I've ever thought, and it was absolutely not true. I just saw them. They were such a part of me that I couldn't even see what they were. So I saw them as just everybody's got them when they actually don't. So then it was like, okay, and then we went really big after that, right? And once we got a hold of it, we started building $1 million funnels for people and started charging a lot of money for those and building a big service based business. And then now I'm turning back to the coaching side and going, hey, I think I can teach you how to do what I did. So it's been about a 10-year journey, but it's been very exciting. Yeah.
It's so funny too, like, how we really don't see ourselves, right? And
No.
how we have these own blind spots about ourselves. I do wanna go back to your comment about when you don't speak the language, how you have to change the way you understand communication. Because I think that was such like, when you said that, I'm like, of course that's true," and that's, like, I feel like the best ideas are the ones that you sit up and you go, "Well, obviously, that's the correct answer." Um, how have you used that skill, though, to be able to say, "I can hear the words you're saying, but I can also see the unintended communication that you have going on?" Like, how is that applied to your business and the way that you lead and engage with people?
You are brilliant. I would not have seen it that way. So let me tell you a story. So I came back the first time. The voices were so loud, but I mean the internal, the unspoken. I could hear and see things that were so big because it was in my own culture. So I understood how kind of things work, right? So it was so loud, I actually had to quiet it down because I couldn't, because again, what people are telling me and what I knew, I didn't trust it. I didn't trust it. I didn't know that I knew something. So 6 years later, I went back. I went back to Korea again and did it again. Somebody asked me, open some more schools. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll go again. This is fun, right? Did it again. And the second time I came back, I hung on to it because I knew that that's what was going to happen as I would let go of it. But now it's actually the best gift I have. And when I was saying the marquee sign goes across my forehead, or I just get words delivered to me that they're saying this, but that's not what they're really saying. That's not what's really happening. I can hear it over there. So now it's just, I call it. So I say, I care so much that I don't care. Meaning, I care so much about you as my client, as my friend, if you're my husband, if you're in my circle in any capacity, I care so much that I don't care what you think of me in the moment that I'm going to make you mad, or I'm going to say something that you don't even know is coming, that you don't even know yourself is what's happening, and it will piss people off. It does me sometimes. It's like, it's a
Mm,
defense mechanism. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. That's not, oh, it is. Okay, you can see that. That's great. I'm good at it now. But it's very challenging when you go to somebody who's got a story that is so ingrained, but it's screaming at me.
right.
I can hear it screaming at me. Oh, I'm going to tell another story about this on my like a story time live thing or something because this is really big. I'd forgotten about that. But that's why I'm good at it.
And a lot of times too, I think especially as a young woman and I work in tech, right? So
Oh,
everyone that I talk to is a middle-aged or older
right.
white dude.
Right.
And
Like,
so
oh yeah.
I,
Right.
I I exist in this world at which I'm already an anomaly of
Right.
what's going on. And I didn't play the politics very well, right? So I've always worked for startups. I've always been small companies at which, my everyday really mattered. If I was off a day, then that meant the company didn't move forward. And then I started doing some consulting for some of these huge organizations. And I realized that there's so much unspoken communication, things people aren't willing to say out loud. But then as soon as the call ends, they head off and they do their little side chats or their little side
Yes.
conversations about it. Or there's some hidden agenda that I wasn't aware of, and I stepped in it so many times simply because I didn't have that muscle built up
Right.
to understand what I was seeing, and because I never had to, because I had existed in
Mhm.
environments where there's 5 of
Same.
us,
Yeah.
right? And so that was really, really hard for me though, because I had to recognize and come to terms with the fact that I am great at a great many things. I am not ready for some other things because I have some muscles to build. And having those experiences and learning the hard way, I would not wish that on anybody. Um, so when you're thinking about the people that you work with, how much of how much of that has to be them being willing to be vulnerable and self-aware with you? Because it's a lot to have someone sit there and be like, you aren't presenting this the right way, or you're not doing this the way it needs to be done, or this is your blind spot and you're totally missing it. Like, that's gotta be stressful for some people.
It takes a lot of courage. I call it just guts, right? But I charge $25,000 to build a software business for people. That takes 3, 4 months, depending on where they're at to start. and it's a white labeled version of high level. So we don't have to build the software. Software, we're just going to white label it, right? And I go into it as an expert and as an advisor. And the first thing I do is ask them about their time, their energy, their resources, the team, the finances. I need to know that I can't take their $25,000 knowing that they cannot build it because they don't have anything over here to support them. So the first thing I let them know is this is going to be hard because building a business of any type is hard. Never mind, we're going to build $1 million business over here. So you better, how right are you with all of that?
Yeah.
I watch if you work with clients long enough and are a client yourself, you understand when I say you, I mean me, I mean we, right? That this is about that next leveling up or whatever wording we want to use for the mindset, right? We're going to have to break through some of it. So they're going to lose their shit about halfway through it. If I don't have that wherewithal first to know that that's what's coming, I'm going to blame myself or blame my process or something, but it's not. It's just part of the process and putting things in place for that. And then the other part of it is, okay, we got to walk through this. I've got to be strong enough to walk them through this part of it and tell them the truth that that's what's going on is you just need to up level. But I let them know right out front. And then with regards to the branding, etc., I'm pretty strong already. Like my branding coach said to me, you should maybe buy a couple of dresses, like dresses. She's like, yeah, you're so strong in your message, then maybe soften some of your clothing, soften some of you because you come off very strong.
That's why we're both wearing pink
That's
today.
what we're wearing pink today, right? Because I'm like, I'm here. This is going to sound even egotistical, maybe, but I'm like saving lives. Because I don't know about you, but if I can get more money into your pocket and you've got a sick child, is that not going to help you and your family? And that money's just sitting here, but you don't have anyone to tell you the truth that you're off base. And I've got the opportunity to say that, and I don't care what you think of me because it's not wrapped up in me. I feel like it's you crossed my path. I'm going to say something. Now, if we were best friends, I start the conversation with, do you want me to be your friend? Do you want me to be your coach? Do you want me to kick your ass? What do you need?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I
but
have these conversations with my husband, and every once in a while, because I'm naturally a coach. I'm a problem solver by nature, right?
yes.
So I'm like, he'll tell me something, and he's just wanting to tell me something. He
Mhm.
doesn't, want help with it, and I'll just immediately go into like solving mode, and I have to stop. I've had to stop and tell myself and ask him, do you want sympathy or do you want
Yeah.
solutions?
What do you
Because
need?
like,
Yeah.
that's a different mindset. If you just want me to listen to you and let you, like, work it out yourself, then I will just listen. If you want me to
Mhm.
solve it, then, like, let's go solve it, right? Because that's just my nature. And I've had coaches before that I've worked with, right? Or people that I've worked with in a consulting role, and one of the things that always kind of grinds my gears is when they don't hold you accountable. So
Yeah.
I had a
Or hold
coach
you to
who
account.
would say all the right things. He would say like, "You should do this." And he would like try to hold up the mirror. And then in the next month when we'd come back and nothing had changed, he'd be like the exact same script, the exact same conversation. There was no recognition of like, "Do you want this or not? Because this is going to be hard and this is going to be difficult and you're not doing the things." So like no level of accountability. There's a book that I finished a couple of months ago that I recommend to everyone these days. It's called The Dip by Seth Godin. It's an old book.
Mhm.
And it's literally just this idea that there's a curve to success. And there's that initial excitement, right? When you're like, "Oh, I'm so excited to build a business. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna be financially free and I'm gonna build $1 million business." And then there's a dip that happens when it
Yeah.
gets hard. And then after that dip is when you start to see success. And you kind of mirrored that in your story of like, I tried this and I tried this and I tried this and nothing was working until something finally did. But the whole premise of the book is that if you're not willing to forge your way through the dip, if you're not willing to get through that, don't even start in the first place.
Don't. It's not like Instagram says it is. That dip is tears, screaming, scratching, just wailing, like, and financially on the edge of whatever, and emotionally on the edge, and relationships on the edge because you spend so much time working, and I say you, I mean me, like obsessing about things and trying to figure it all out. It's one of the most challenging things I've ever done. And I've been through a few of those dips. Thank God. I know that's now where I am. And then, okay, I know the upside, but the courage that it takes to keep going is absolutely around the goals and dreams that I have for myself in my life because it's very easy for me to go get a job. I get offered jobs all the time, right? But I want to do this because I want to become the person who does this. I want to say that I've changed and grown and stepped into who I believe I really am here to be. And I think that's the other reason we need to get money into people's pockets is so that we can expand fully on what it is we're here to do. And I love talking specifically to women about this because we are 10 most of the time underemployed, right? Unemployed or underpaid or undervalued our work and our labor. So it's very important to bring the whole conversation and get this into women's hands and show them that this is not easy, but we've experienced it with children. We've had children. If we've cared for an animal, if we've cared for anybody, we know better than anyone how this works, what this looks like. We've been through the terrible twos. We've been through the whatever, and all the, all those stages. We know that that's the dip and we know if we hang on, but we don't let go of the children, but we'll let go of the business. So we just have been taught that it shouldn't be this way. But I'm like, grab your epidural. Let's go.
Exactly.
What
No,
do you think?
I'm of the same mindset, and it is a hard balance, like, as a woman, right? Because 'Cause I'm trying to build a business. I have a husband and I have children and I have, a house to take care of, and I'm fortunate that I have a husband who really truly believes in, like, equal partnership in our approach. Like, he does just as much bedtime, if not more, than I do. He, wa changed all the diapers when we had babies. Like, it was he's so good in that way. I know not all women have that, right? Because you have to be the traditional wife and the breadwinner and have to build your own business
Mhm.
and have to be the nurse and the
Yeah.
maid and all of those things. So I recognize that I'm super blessed in that way. Um, but I also think there's so much guilt. Like, even with all of that support, I have this moment of guilt of
Right.
like, well, I'm not a great mom because I'm not sitting there watching Bluey with my 5-year-old. I'm working on my business instead. And I had to actively tell myself, "No, it's okay to go do that because I want her." She's 5, she's a strong personality. I
Mhm.
want her to look at me and say, "Mommy does things that are incredible. Mommy's so smart. Mommy's so talented." Not like, I wanna spend time with her, but I also want her to see that I'm a badass.
We've been taught, I'm a little bit older than you are. I'll take that, just as a guess. We were taught that these children are our lives and these are my goals and I'm going to smother them to death, if that's even the right word, but just all encompassing, focusing on them and saying to them, follow your dreams, follow your dreams, follow your dreams. What do you want to be? What do you want to do? You can do anything. But yeah, I don't do it for myself because a lot of women do not want to be full-time moms and just be moms. They want all of it as well. They've got goals and dreams themselves, but they cover it over or it's just dad inside or they're waiting like I did till my kids were grown. Probably one of the biggest mistakes I ever made. If we have time, I can tell you that story of how my son cried and told me he was so happy that I was finally following my dreams, that he wanted that for me my whole life. If you talk to your kids, that's actually what they want is to see you as an example being happy. And if you are nothing or the furthest from that, it's of no value to those children when they step out into the real world because that's actually what they're looking for is an example, not living through them.
Yeah, and that's the thing I had to come to terms with myself, right? Like, we tell them, "You can be anything, you can do anything, you can have the whole world." And yet we don't allow ourselves that same permission,
Or even
right?
buy
And
ourselves that.
how will they learn to do anything, be everything, and have the world if we
They
don't do it first and show them how to do it?
can't, and they'll be resentful as fuck about it as they grow older. And then all of a sudden you won't have that relationship that you wanted.
Right, right. And, of course, like all things in balance, if being a mother and a traditional wife is what you want, then go for it. Like,
All
that
about that.
it's
What
about the
is it that
choice.
you really want?
Yeah,
Tell yourself the real truth because a lot of us are still saying, "Oh, I because I'm a mom." The mom guilt out there and what's going on out there, but I know there are women listening to this. That's not their number one way they want to walk through life. It's part of it.
right.
I teach women how to ruthlessly prioritize themselves and their business, just like a man would.
Yeah,
If
100%.
that's what they want, but that's what's going to happen because balance is for the circus. We've been taught as women to balance because we have to do all of it. So of course you better fucking balance it because nobody else is coming. But I'm like, you're not a juggling act, you're not a contortionist, you're not a disappearing, you're not any of those fucking circus acts.
Right.
So what women are doing is still putting things on the planner that should have never be on the planner. And that includes dusting and that includes all of the things that we do to look good to our neighbors who does it really matter? We're
Yeah.
2-year-old birthday parties. What? 2-year-olds don't remember birthday parties? What are we doing? But
My
the
kids are like 5 and 9 and still having birthday parties with
I
friends.
love
Like,
you.
we
Like,
buy them something, but it's not that big of a deal, like, it's fine.
it's not. They're gonna be fine, but if they've got a stressed out mother who's wanting to follow her goals but can't because of somebody else's expectations, like house number 239 at the end of the cul-de-sac. I don't think it fucking matters what she thinks. We think it does, but it doesn't. But a lot of us are living our lives to please others, and as a result, we don't get to fully live our lives. Then we turn into Karens,
Yeah,
and the kids hate us. So you've fucking blown it on every level. And
right.
if you think you haven't, go ask people who are older.
Yeah.
And
Well,
say,
and that's you don't
"What
wanna
happened?"
look at your life and be like, you know, I think that a lot of us give ourselves what I call main character syndrome. Like, we think that everyone around us is looking at us, and, like, to be honest, our my neighbor probably hasn't even noticed that that side of my house hasn't been painted for, like, a year and a half. Maybe they're like, "Oh," in passing, like, "Oh, she didn't paint the side of her house." Odds are good that is not consuming her life in the way that it's consuming my life and
Even
the way
if
that
it
I'm worried
was,
about
don't
what she
you think,
thinks.
even if it was, don't you think she should get a life?
True, you're right.
Right?
You're right.
Like if you're up to something in your life, you pay attention to other people's walls.
No, if you're doing something important, you're not worrying about anyone else's paint
Not
color.
worrying about anybody else's life. And if I'm when I mention the Karens, I mean because if I'm fully in control of my own life and I'm living my own life, you know what? I don't have to find it necessary to control someone else's.
That's true. That's true.
So it's
I
really
agree
important.
100%.
Yeah.
So, I'm obsessed with this conversation. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, and I want to be respectful of your time. So, we're going to ask you our signature question. When
Okay.
you think of all of the people that you've had a chance to get to know, or to meet, or to listen to, or follow, who in your mind is taking back Monday? Who else should we be listening to?
If you're a woman anywhere near 40, Dr. Stacy Sims is a health and this is a very shocking person. She came across my forehead when you mentioned this question before we jumped on the air. As a woman who's going through perimenopause and menopause and has struggled with weight most of my life, when she said on the podcast Diary of a CEO that the books that are being taught are all about men's bodies, and when she was in a trial back in the day with other men and she was on her cycle, she gave them her results of the test, and he said the guy that was running it was all white men, old white men, right? Those don't match up. Those are too like off the charts. We're just going to ignore those. We're going to get rid of those. So I knew that women's bodies weren't being studied, etc. But I had no idea till I heard that I was even remotely correct, that something the fuck was up. Because if I'm wanting to lose weight or going through some of the things, I had the heart palpitations. They put me on a heart monitor. It turns out it was menopause. The guy had no fucking clue while I was going through what I was going through. Nobody wants to talk about this. Nobody. So I happen to be in this stage of my life. But what if you're 20 and 30 and you don't know that every trainer you've been to, every doctor you've been to has been reading a book based on because when they do clinical trials for anything, who's the number one person that signs up for those trials? College age men, not even women. It's men that do it. Statistically, go look it up. So everything that we've been taught about everything regarding weight and health, it has been run through a 22-year-old guy. So
I gotta tell you, I don't want 22-year-old men deciding anything for me, let alone
like
healthcare
my
in my
doctor,
future.
a doctor has been educated that way. So if you want to take back Monday, we've got to take back control over our health and our bodies because if I don't know about you, but I felt batshit crazy for a little while. It consumes me when I'm trying to get healthier and I can't. What's in the way? And I did everything. I did blood work. I did everything. I couldn't figure it out. No one was talking about what was going on for me. So if you've got health problems, please know that where you're being treated, ask them if they are aware of the studies that are they studying women now? Are they looking at women? Are they looking at the results? And go look her up, if nothing else, to recalibrate what you think is the truth, not only about health, but everything we've been taught, specifically about women.
I love that. And if someone is really connecting with you, if they wanna learn more, where can they find you online?
Theclientcoach.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking back Monday with me. I really appreciate it.
It's such a great conversation, Alyssa. Thank you so much for the time.
Thanks for joining us on Taking Back Monday, where we say goodbye to the Sunday scaries and hello to meaningful and fulfilling work. If you enjoyed today's episode, let's connect on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found value here, share the podcast with your network. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps us inspire more leaders to join the movement. Until next time, let's take back Monday.